We are live. Pew, 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 pew. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us once again for a slumber party for our very, very special episode of Slumber Party. Are we? Okay. I think it might have just. Nope. There we go. All right. For our very special episode of Slumber Party, where we are interviewing LGBTQ icons all month. And this month, we're doing all Elphaba interviews. And oh boy, do we have a very special guest for you today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage someone who I saw on Broadway when I was 17 or 18. And honey, I bought the merch. I bought the merch. I brought it back to college, and I remember a senior stopping me in the hallway and being like, "Is that a Spring Awakening shirt? You're that kid. You're the kid who buys the merch." I said, "Yes."
Well, the person knew who it was, knew what it was, so they're that person too.
Yeah, she like looked in her bag and she's got the Bitch of Living hoodie. I was like, "Girl." You know her from Spring Awakening. You know her as Elphaba. You know her as a Tony-nominated actress. Thank you very much for the musical Tootsie. You know her from Spongebob on Broadway. Please welcome to the stage, Lilli Cooper.
Hi, I'm here. How you doing?
I'm so good. I'm so glad that you're here. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, all things considered, I'm alive. I'm breathing. My dogs are laying next to me. And I have a drink.
What kind of dogs do you have? You have a drink?
Yeah, so I'm doing good. I'm succeeding in life. I have two Cocker Spaniels. I have a little blonde baby Cocker Spaniel named Cosmo, and I have a big guy named Dublin.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Little cuties. What are you drinking right now? What's the drink of choice?
I'm drinking a skinny marg. It's tequila, soda, and just lime juice.
Oh, that sounds so good right now.
Very refreshing.
I've been doing Whole30, which is, yeah, your face is exactly right. It's absolutely hell on earth. And I really missed, I've done it a couple other times, like when we were socializing and actually seeing people. And then it was like impossible because you go to a bar and you're with friends and you want to drink, but I'm finding it even more difficult during this quarantine.
I don't doubt it, because like I just have the urge to get up and eat and or drink pretty much every hour that I'm awake. So
yeah, that's kind of how it's been going since March 13th.
Yep.
It's just been like, get me food, drink, anything. Is there anything that you're watching right now to get you through?
Oh, everything. Are you kidding? All the reality.
Tell me what reality shows you're into, Lilli.
The fact that Housewives of New York and Beverly Hills happened at the same time are a gift from the Bravo Lords. And I am really into and have just gotten my boo thing into Married at First Sight and 90 Day Fiance. Y'all, that shit is crazy.
I haven't seen Married at First Sight yet, but I cannot wait. 90 Day Fiance is my shit.
It's a gem. 90 Day Fiance the other way. 90 Day Fiance before the 90 days. 90 Day Fiance, where are they now? I mean,
Pillow Talk. They don't stop.
It's really a gem of a franchise. I'm so genuinely honored to be alive during this time and so grateful.
Have you seen the season with Courtney, who goes to Spain?
No.
That's what really got me hooked. I was like, okay, this is going to be something I'm addicted to. It was like,
I think I saw that season.
I feel like it's like season, it's with Darcy and the guy in Holland, but
yeah, that bitchy blonde guy. Yeah, I remember.
Yes. Yeah,
I only saw the aftermath of Darcy and that guy, so I didn't watch that season, but I need to catch up. I hope it's like on Hulu or something.
I think it is on Hulu, and the Courtney season is the Courtney part of it all is really like, because sometimes I watch and I get a little bit like, oh, this makes me like a little too sad. Like their lives are like a little too sad, but this was like, she's just like the perfect person where you don't feel bad at all for laughing, because she's just like your typical like white blonde University of Central Florida sorority girl who's like Life's been pretty good for me. And so I'm going to Madrid to meet my model husband who I've never met. And then Lily, she goes, I have been catfished once before.
Uh, uh, so wait, who does he end up being? Spoiler, I don't care. Tell me everything.
It's amazing. The whole time you're like, you're obviously, I mean, they're showing the pictures of this guy and he is like so ripped, so
Yeah.
muscular. He's like, I'm a supermodel in Madrid. So she flies to Madrid and you're like, this poor girl, she gets off the plane, doesn't show up, doesn't show up, doesn't show up. It's hours and you're like feeling bad. 4 hours late, he shows up. It's really him. He really is a
No.
supermodel and he loves her.
Why was he 4 hours late, that monster?
Because that's what models do.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Apparently. The models, they know they look that good and then he takes her to a show where he's judging women in bikinis on a runway.
Wait,
And
the first day that she's in Madrid?
that's their first date.
Oh my God, this is why this show is brilliant. This is why this show is everything.
It's so good. She's sitting in the audience and he's at a judge's table. She's
And
not
he's
even
like
with
on the
him.
stage. Oh, he's on the stage judging these women in bikinis. And this is her first day. Wait, are they still together? Did they stay together? No.
They patch it up. They get in a huge fight after that, and then they patch it up, get in a huge fight, patch it up, get in a huge fight, and then they're definitely on the outs by the end of it. Like we're living in a really, I mean, everything is obviously crazy right now, but the reality TV side of it all is really like, oh, we are in a Black Mirror episode.
100%. It's terrifying. Truly.
It's wild. So you're watching Real Housewives, you're watching 90 Day. Okay, if you had to give me a pitch for watching Married at First Sight, what would it be?
All right, let me ask you a question. What kind of person would be willing to marry someone they meet at the altar? Someone you'd want to watch on television, that's for damn sure. So there you go. That's all you need to know, pretty much.
That's the whole pitch.
And then the madness of it ensues, like they sleep in the, in a hotel room the first night, and then they go on the honeymoon the second night, and then they move in together the week they get home from the honeymoon. And then 5 weeks later, they have to decide if they stay married. And these people, let me tell you, it's just amazing. Like, there was one season where this guy cheated on this girl, and it was 5 weeks. Like, come on. You just married this woman on television and you cheated on her and humiliated this poor girl. And then during one of the reunions, he was such an asshole. He got totally just ripped apart by everybody. And he was like, all right, y'all, I gotta go. I'm gonna go chill with the IG model. And then just walks out of the reunion. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Not an IG model.
I know.
That's a real low blow. That's not even like a runway model. No, I'm gonna go chill with an IG model. That's tough to take. You just told me on that show I'm gonna watch the absolute crap out of that. Have you seen Love Is Blind?
Duh. Yes. Beginning to end, watch it in like 4 days. Not even, less than that. I'm obsessed with the Hamiltons. I follow both of them on Instagram. They're just the cutest interracial couple besides myself that I've ever seen.
I was so in love with them. I mean, so much of that show, I was like, this is wrong. I was like, this show is not okay. But then when I tell you, when they got married, I was sobbing, crying. I was like,
I have to be honest. I'm a little surprised that they worked out because she kept talking about how uncomfortable she thought he was being in an interracial relationship. But the fact that she kept bringing it up, like, she obviously had a problem with it. So
yeah,
I'm, to be honest, very surprised that they're together, but also happy because they're really cute.
They're so cute. And did you read the articles that were like Jessica quoted It Takes Two, the movie It Takes Two, in the final episode? She stole dialogue from It Takes Two.
Stop. What was the line? Do you remember?
It's when she's walking in for her wedding that she was chewing bubble gum to go walking down the aisle and didn't invite any of her friends to. She's walking in to the venue and she goes, I'm looking for that hit the ball out of the park over the fence kind of love.
Yes, I remember that. I knew that was from a movie, but I didn't know it was from It Takes Two. Oh, honey.
I know. I'm like, I love Mary Kate and Ashley as much as the next, but
But
when you're
Jessica.
when you're in your mid-30s, you don't. That doesn't. Mary Kate and Ashley at age 9 doesn't need to be your template for true love.
That's rough. That is rough.
It's tough
You
to
remember
take.
when she fed? Remember when she fed wine to her dog?
Oh,
I mean, who could
yeah.
forget?
I wonder if there is a God, someone will give her a quarantine reality show because I want to just know what is happening in that house
Wait,
right now.
speaking of new reality shows, did you know that Darcy and her twin sister have a new reality show on TLC?
Lily, don't say it.
It's called The Silva Twins or something like that. I'm so excited. It's just going to be crazy Darcy fucking crying over dudes and getting Botox.
I love Darcy so much. My boyfriend and I watched that season together, and I was taking him on like a surprise date somewhere in LA, and I was like, I had to lie to him about it, about what we were doing. So I was like, I'm taking you to the mall, and the cast of 90 Day Fiance is going to be there to take pictures and sign autographs, and Darcy's gonna be there. And he was like, I don't want to go to that.
That doesn't sound fun.
But I fully convinced him, wait, I'm gonna watch that show.
Uh-huh.
It's
Of course I'm going to watch that show.
Darcy is like one of those. Yeah, I mean, truly, what else are we gonna do? Do you watch Drag Race at all?
No, I haven't watched in recent seasons, and I feel truly like a terrible human for it. But it's just one of those things that like I just haven't caught up on. But I want to, and I will.
It's fine if you watch older seasons. I mean, I hate to be the one, but it's gone downhill in the last few years.
I mean,
So
everything does. Everything does.
everything does. Everything does. Jason Wilkes in the comments says, I saw Lily as Elphaba 5 years ago and she was iconic.
Aw, that's so sweet.
Can we get into it? You played Elphaba on the Australian tour, on Broadway, and on the US tour? Is that true?
So 3 different productions, 3 different productions, 3 different countries. And I was the understudy and the standby.
Damn.
So I've really done it quite a bit. It's weird because it feels so far away because it's been so long, and I've done a few things since then. So it feels very far separated. But like when I think back into that time, I was very immersed in the Wicked world, and yeah, it was a wild ride. What would you like to know?
I want to know so much. The question that I have for every Elphaba is very stupid, but was it fun? Because there's so much about it that seems obviously iconic, incredible, exciting, but then there's so much about it watching. If you've ever performed on stage before where you're like, how the F are they doing that? That seems not fun.
I'd say it's like 60-40 terrifying fun, with the terrifying being the majority, because it's truly a marathon. I have never been a part of a show that was so vocally demanding, physically exhausting, emotionally kind of draining in a way. It's a lot. It's a lot. The pressure that's put on the Elphabas, I mean, on both the witches, but like particularly the Elphabas, is insane. And the standbys have this sort of unique role because they need to be at this level of, preparedness and intensity kind of 24/7, and then aren't going on all the time. So imagine just being in this state of like, I'm ready. It's going to be great. It's going to be really good. And then it's like 2 weeks until you go on. Like, it's insane. It makes you go crazy. So, and then, you get thrown on in the middle of the show, or you get thrown on a half an hour before the show. So it's so nuts. It was really, I think, a lesson in sort of like mental gymnastics to be able to calm my body and my mind down before I went on for a show. I over the year or so that I did it, no, what am I talking about? 2.5 years that I did it. I went on, over 100 times, and it it definitely got easier, but it never got easy. It's one of those roles that I when it looks easy, because I never thought it looked easy when I did it. I always felt it was like a struggle. I was like, am I good at this? I don't think I'm any good at this because it's hard. When I see a woman do it and it looks easy, I'm like, Jesus, how are you doing that? It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, I had a really fun time performing that role because it's so iconic. I remember the first time I had my put in rehearsal on tour. All of my friends in the cast were in the wings, like videoing me and clapping as I rose up on the cherry picker during Defying Gravity. And I was weeping as I was singing Defying Gravity. It's epic. It's so cool. And then,
I just got chills.
Yeah, my brothers had been in the show before, and I was in it year 13. No, year like 16, I think. And then my brothers had never seen it. And so my brothers, the first time they ever saw Wicked, they saw me as Elphaba, and they grew up in New York their whole life. So they've known about Wicked, but had never seen it. And, it was just so cool and special to be able to do that and be one of very few women of color who've ever played it. Like, it's just really, it's a pretty awesome thing. And it gives me a lot of pride, a lot of confidence in situations where I need that. Like, for example, I'll go into an audition or I'll be singing at a concert and I'll be nervous and I'll be terrified that I'm gonna mess up or can't do it, and I'll think like, girl, you played Elphaba, chill out. You can do anything.
You flew and belted at the same damn time. You can sing at 54 below. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? And yeah, you can sing at 54 below. Chill out, Lil. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, it definitely was fun, for sure.
That's awesome. I just think there's something I'm really thrilled that you're here and really excited to be doing this because, like, no matter how old I get, I think even when I'm like 85, I'm gonna like there's just some things in life that bring you pure unadulterated joy, like 90 Day Fiance and Elphaba and Wicked the musical.
Yeah.
And like, it's so how cool that you were this, like, because it's always awesome to be part of original cast, like that is always exciting in its own way. But this is also so exciting that you played like one of the most iconic roles in theater history, really.
Yeah, that's ever been written for a female in theater ever. And it's so crazy to think that there have been quite a few women who played the role, but to think that I'm one of that small group is so wild. Like, I still have to pinch myself every now and then. And that's what I mean by it feels so separated from me, because I look at it and think, there's no way I played that role. But I did, and it's really cool. And I'm, proud of myself for it. It's special.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Jason Wilkes also wants to know, how did you pick what riffs you did?
So my first Elphaba that I covered was Christine Dwyer. And she is legendary. She's brilliant. She's not only a phenomenal singer, but such an incredible actress. And I really, really respect Elphabas who act the shit out of it. And she truly did that. And I modeled everything I did after her. I really did. I mean, I think I kind of stole it from her, which is, in the biggest compliment that it can be. Like, I saw her and thought, that's it. I got to do it like that. So that's sort of where I don't think I really found anything particularly unique to the show that hadn't really been done before, but my specifics, I think I pretty much ripped from Christine Dwyer fully, added my own little nuances to it. But yeah, Christine all the way. I think she's one of my favorite Elphabas for sure.
That's so awesome. And can we talk a little bit about Spring Awakening?
Yeah, of course. Are you kidding? I want to talk about Spring Awakening all the time. I miss it. I love it so much.
How crazy was that? I have the same question for Julia Murney about the Wild Party, and I want to ask you the same question about Spring Awakening, in that when you're inside of something that is going to become an iconic piece of art forever, did you know? Were you guys like, were you looking around like, oh shit, this is going to be it?
Yeah, see, that's such a good thing to recognize because, like, no, of course not. I mean, I was 16, like, I had no idea. I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna be on Broadway. This is so cool. And I would be like, let's drink wine with adults, and I would feel really special. It had nothing to do with, oh, this is going to change the trajectory of musical theater from now on. I had no idea. And that's what was the thing that's so cool about that is that I really got to experience it in that way, where I was just like fully immersed in this existence of, living this double life of going to high school and being on Broadway at the same time without even having the weight of that on me. It wasn't until we all stepped out of it and realized, like, holy shit, this was kind of a big deal. And the fact that people, I mean, it was, oh God, 15 years ago was when I started like the workshop off Broadway. And the fact that people still sometimes recognize me from it, that people still listen to the album, the fact that it's being done all across the world, it's so surreal. It's really bananas. It's hard to even like wrap my mind around. But yeah, I was like I was a baby. I was a sophomore in high school when I did it off Broadway. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what the world was. I was disgusted. And that's what was another thing that was very surreal about it, was that I was experiencing this teen angsty development discovery of myself while I was doing the show that was fully about that. I was an awkward teenager who wanted to feel sexy and who wanted to go out and drink and who wanted to do all these things. And, we did the show at night that was about all of that. It was about discovering your early adulthood. And it was cathartic, I guess, in a way, but I didn't really realize the scope of it until I was outside of it, for sure. So I went to LaGuardia High School. I did Spring Awakening my sophomore, junior, senior year. I left Spring Awakening to go to college, and I get to college, and you know how in some dorms, like the TAs will sort of theme your hallway, or they'll decorate freshman dorms. And there was one dorm that was musical theater decorated, and there was like a Spring Awakening door. And then the drama department had a textbook with a picture of Spring Awakening on the cover, and I was on the cover of a textbook that was being taught in the college I was going to. Like, it was crazy. It was so nuts.
That must have been really so surreal. Yeah.
So nuts. It made my college, I mean, if anything, it made my college experience kind of strange, because it definitely felt like I didn't feel any level of celebrity whatsoever. But going into college, there were a certain number of people who did know who I was, and that made it very strange. It was really
I'm sure. Were you a theater major in college, or what did you study?
No, I did film.
Oh, cool.
So I did film production, and I went abroad for an entire year because I kind of wanted to get away from it all for a while. I felt like college itself was my kind of time to step away from theater, and then I needed to even like go live in Europe for a year to like really be anonymous.
That's so badass. And like you seem like, I know we've only been talking for 25 minutes, but you seem like a very grounded person, which is not always the case when you're talking to actors, right? Do you think how did that all come about? Was it that because your dad is a Broadway actor as well, was that like a big part of the decision, or were you just like, was it all you and you were like, listen, I need 4 years to just like get to know myself and be an adult in my own way outside of theater?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say every decision that I made, I think this is why I feel like a pretty grounded person. Every decision that I made from the time that I was, working professionally and kind of supporting myself, my parents were like, you do what you think is best for you. And it's really great to have parents and to have a family who's like, we trust you to make the decisions that you think you should make. And I knew I wanted to go to college. I knew I wanted to go to abroad. And luckily it worked out. I don't know. I think a lot of it was instinct. I had two older brothers that I was, following, and I was looking up to my father and his career and wanting to achieve what he achieved, but figuring out my own way to kind of get there. And it's just sort of how I, navigated my path. And I don't regret any of it because I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's so cool. Where did you go abroad?
I went to Prague. I lived in the Czech Republic.
Damn.
I know, right? Yeah, I mean, it was really cool. There was a film school there, so I was really fully immersed in this film school for a year and met some of my best friends at that school and traveled like all over the world, which was really epic. The cool thing about being abroad and having all of your high school friends also being abroad is that we visited each other in each other's cities. So like I had a friend in London, I had a friend in Paris, I had a friend in Barcelona. Like, so we got to visit each other. So it was like, I was fucking 21 or something and got to visit, 10 different countries. So I think that was also a really formative thing at a pretty young age too.
Damn, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And then you did Wicked in Australia. Was Australia cool?
Australia was amazing. I want to go back to Australia. I didn't even really get the chance to do like the Australia stuff. Like I wanted to go to the outback and see, crazy animals and shit. But
yeah,
I was in Melbourne for 2 months and I visited Sydney for a few days. And it was just really cool to be able to play it down there. Because I felt I was like the American coming to Australia, and everybody was like, "Ooh, there's an American coming," and it was really exciting for them. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing." Like, okay.
Isn't that the best? I studied abroad in Spain, and then I've lived in Edinburgh for like a month at a time. A couple times I lived in London for like a month, and you just suddenly like walk through hallways like, yeah, I'm new here.
Uh-huh.
My accent's different than yours.
What do you want to know?
What do you want to know? Statue of Liberty? She's my friend. What do you want to know?
We go out.
We go out. Okay, and then you were nominated for a damn Tony Award. What was that day like?
It was wild. It was amazing. It was amazing. Are you kidding? It was the coolest thing ever. From the day I got nominated till the day of the Tonys and on, I was just like a kid in a candy store, like, ooh, this is so cool. I can't believe Bryan Cranston is there. And was sitting in front of me at the Tonys, and I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I had to pinch myself all the time. It was so crazy. The day I found out, I was I had sort of accepted that I wouldn't get nominated because I wasn't sure. I don't know. I didn't want to expect it. And so I didn't wake up and sit and watch the broadcast because I was too nervous and I didn't want to just sit there and be disappointed. So I slept through it. So I set my alarm for after the broadcast. And of course I woke up like super early and like just was rolling around in bed and a little anxious and I looked at the time like right before the broadcast and I was rolling around in bed and I realized, as the broadcast was happening, I didn't get any phone calls or texts or anything. So I'm like, all right, it didn't happen. I'm glad I didn't wake up and watch. And then I roll over and I look and my phone was on silent and I had 20 phone calls and like 100 text messages. And I was like, oh, wait. That must mean something. And so I look at my phone and I'm like, did I just get nominated for a Tony Award? And as I pick up my phone, my mom calls me. She's like, where have you been? I've been calling you for an hour. And that's how I found out
you're like, Mom, I'm watching 90 Day Fiance. This is just a regular Sunday morning for me.
I just don't care. I'm watching Darcy. She's
that that is so cool. Like, what a fucking awesome, what an amazing thing. And I think, will you talk a little bit about, because I think a lot of civilians don't know, and I think I may also be misunderstanding how the Tony Awards process works. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're not a nominee, is it true that you, let's say, because you guys performed for Spring Awakening, right? But if you're not a singular nominee, do you get to stay and have a seat in the audience? Or
yeah, it's a unique situation sort of with show to show. So if you have like fabulous, amazing producers, the producers will like buy the cast tickets and they'll sit and watch the show. And that doesn't happen all the time, and that's okay. But if you're most often, if you're performing in the show and you're a part of the show and you're not, a nominee, the way that the day works is bananas. It's on a Sunday. Most often you have a matinee. So at 6 a.m, you wake up, you go to the theater, and you have a sound check at Radio City. So you got to get in your costume and everything, and you go to Radio City, you do the sound check, you go back to the theater, you have your matinee. And then you go get back into whatever costume you're in for the Tonys. They put you on a bus, and you kind of just sit on a bus until it's time to go backstage at Radio City. I feel like I hope that like the Tony gods aren't gonna like strike me down because I'm telling this. I hope it's not like so. I hope we're not sworn to secrecy for this process. But
this is the story I had heard.
Yeah.
I was like watching our mutual friend on the Tonys a couple years ago, Alex Wise, when he was in Spring Awakening, and I was like watching with my parents at home in Ohio, and I was like, that's my friend. He's from Ohio. He's on the Tony Awards. Isn't that cool? And I like texted him a picture thinking he'll see this in tomorrow morning when this all comes out. He texted me back right away. And I was like, didn't you just on stage? And he was like, I'm on a bus.
So, but like, isn't that so funny to picture everyone in costume on a coach bus? Like, imagine like the Lion King just on a bus. It's just wild to think about. So you sit in a bus, you go perform in the Tonys, and then they bus you back to the theater to get out of costume because of like union rules and stuff. So, and then you go to the cast party afterward, wherever your show's party is. For Spring Awakening, we got really lucky because we actually got to sit in the audience and watch the show, which was so beyond cool because we kind of swept and won everything that year. So we were all in the audience, and then we'd go backstage before our performance and change and do all that and, come back out. So that was great. And then this past year, I didn't actually perform, which was ideal for me because I just got to look fierce and like walk down the red carpet and then sit in the audience. And I didn't have to worry about going backstage and changing and stuff.
Yeah. You look stunning, by the way. The photos of you on the red carpet are gorgeous.
Thank you very much. Agree.
You don't agree?
No, I don't disagree.
Oh, I don't agree. Is that, I was hearing somebody talking on a podcast about the whole process of like getting dolled up for an award show. Was that stressful? Like, did you have to like talk to a designer? Like, what was the whole situation?
Well, you know what actually is really cool about how I got my dress? My boyfriend is a personal trainer, and he trained this man who had a connection to Zach Posen and kind of put me in touch with Zach Posen. I also happen to have publicists to like facilitate the situation, but I really sort of got the connection through that, which was great. And then I got to meet Zach Posen and be at his studio and try on this dress, and he like literally tailored it to me with pins like on my body. It was wild. I have a picture of me and Zach Posen like posing with pins all over my dress. So cool. And then day of was the best process because I had one of my dear friends, Rob Harmon, do my hair and makeup, who is actually one of the makeup artists at Wicked. And I've known him ever since I did Wicked. And, you know, he just came over to my house at like noon and we just chilled and had coffee and he braided my hair and did my makeup. And it was too fun. Like it should have been stressful, but it was like too fun. I feel like if, you know, I hope it does. And if it ever happens again, I feel like the next time it's not going to be as fun.
Oh my God. That's just awesome. That's like, you know, that's the damn dream. And you were there the first time you were 16. So were you going to high school during the day and then performing on Broadway at night every day?
I had school the day after the Tonys. Because the Tonys was on a Sunday. So I went to school the next day. Because I went to public school. So you go to public school halfway through June. It was
Lilli,
crazy.
Here's my impression of how I would walk into school the day after the Tonys. Oh, hey guys. Math, am I right? So, what did you do last night? Me? I was partying with Goldie Hawn. I don't know if Goldie Hawn was there, but
Goldie Hawn. Oh my God.
Well, I mean, what was that?
It's true.
Did you just walk in? Were you just like, hell yeah, I'm at high school? Or were
I was
you like
probably very hungover. My drama teachers were like, you looked fabulous. I'm sure, because I went to a performing arts school, so I'm sure some kids were like, I fucking hate that bitch. But no, all my friends like were super supportive and obviously watched it. We're very happy for me. So it was just crazy. It was so fun.
That's so cool. One of my other questions that I'm asking all the Elphabas is there a role that you saw growing up that was to you what Elphaba was to me? Like something that you saw where you were just like, damn, that brings me joy. This is so thrilling.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because a lot of those roles are actually roles that I listen to as opposed to hearing. Like, for example, one of them was Julia in the Wild Party. Like, I was like, who is this woman? I want to be her. And then she did Lennon with my dad in like 2003, and I got to meet her when I was like 13 years old, and I kind of fangirled about it. But in terms of, why are you whining? Why are you whining? My dog's whining. Come here, buddy. Come here. You baby, okay? So yeah, anything I'd ever heard Audra in. I never saw Ragtime, but I listened to that and I was like, I want to do this. I must do this. A good one actually was, my dad did Chicago. He played Billy Flynn in Chicago when I was, I don't know, 10 or 11 or something. And I loved seeing Roxy and Velma. They're classic. And I kind of always had a dream of playing Velma. Maybe one day it'll happen.
Yeah.
But I think maybe Velma was kind of my Elphaba. And of course Elphaba was. My mom was always like, you should play Elphaba when I was a kid. And I was like, that's never going to happen.
And
but
then
it did. She was
it
right.
did.
Always right.
Always right. Mom's always right. Did you see there's a petition going around by a fan online on Twitter, I think, to bring back the Wild Party, but bring it to Broadway with an entire cast of people of color. And I'm like, fuck yeah.
Oh my God, are you kidding? Of course. Do it.
Yeah,
But
I'm very ready to see you. Yeah, let's make sure you're Queenie. Edit that petition.
Or
Lilli
Kate.
Cooper has to be
Either
Queenie.
one.
Hell yeah. It's just such a good, the roles are so good. It's such a good show. If there was, what is your, when Broadway opens back up again, which it will, what is your dream scenario? What do you want to see for Lilli Cooper on Broadway? What kind of role do you want to be playing?
Well, I'm a part of a show right now that is, supposed to be moving to Broadway whenever Broadway comes back. And I really love it. It's this kind of slapstick comedy. I really loved playing a leading lady in Tootsie, and I think it's something that I never really pictured myself as. I kind of always thought that I would develop into a character actress or always be like the sidekick, and so I'd love to play another leading lady role. I want to be a villain really badly. I don't even know if that's your question. I'm just like listing things that I want to play.
No, yeah, I love this. This is what I want to know. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's such an interesting time. We're all talking about how we need to see more diversity, but I think it goes beyond the stage. I think it's more than just the people on stage. It's the creative team, it's the producers, and it's also the audiences. Like, do you know how rarely I sit in a show and I see brown faces in the audience, and like how much that affects people of color on stage? It's an experience that's very affecting, and so I think that there's a motion to change Broadway, but I think it needs to be broadened and not as narrow as just the people represented on stage.
Yeah, for sure. I saw Slave play on Broadway right before, like last year, and the back of the wall were mirrors, and so just like showing us how many fucking white people were sitting there watching this Black queer play that was like so much about Blackness, and like just like it was so and the whole conversation around Hamilton, right? That like for the first however many years it was open, it was full of white theater goers.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, the whole thing needs to.
Oh my god, I loved that place.
Oh my god, yeah! What a fucking! I just bought it to reread it, and just reread it like 2 weeks ago, and was like, damn, this is like unbelievable.
Ooh, I haven't read it. I want to read it. It's so smart.
Yeah, it's great. It was a very interesting read, especially after having seen it, because it's so fresh in my mind that I was just like, whoa. But yeah, I mean, your point is absolutely right, and I think hopefully we keep having these conversations and keep talking about it and keep making steps forward, because you're so right. It's like, I think so often people with privilege, especially white people, try to band-aid fix situations by, throwing things here and there, rather than, no, we need Black producers, we need Black directors, we need Black writers, we need.
It needs to start from the top. Like, it needs to start from the top. And in order to do that, the whole system kind of needs to be dismantled in a way, which is scary. And it's not just Broadway, it's a lot of other societal systems that we're talking about now. It's great. This conversation is getting a little deep, but that's where we are in the world.
That's where we are. Would you want to use the film production side of your life to create your own stuff?
Hell yeah. I'm just a little bit lazy sometimes. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I want to write, I want to produce for sure. But when you get busy and you're doing something that's like fulfilling you, I wish I was that go-getter that was doing 15,000 things at the same time. But sometimes I just got to focus on like what I'm doing. But yeah, I mean, my dream is to write and produce and direct and all of the above. It would be so cool. And it's great that I have that foundation and that basis, because I feel like it'll be somewhat of a smoother transition.
Yeah. And I think it's so, I mean, take it from somebody who tries to do 15,000 things at once. I feel like it's very great and very smart that you have gotten so good at what you do. I mean, you're such a fabulous singer, you're such a fabulous actress, and then you can always direct and always produce and always write whenever.
Uh-huh.
Now that you've proven to the world that you're like done the other side of the table. You've done the performing side of it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I have one more question for you. Actually, I think it is about that time. It's time to play some Slumber Party
Hey,
games.
oh, I'm so excited. I love games.
I have probably the stupidest Slumber Party game for you ever in the history of the world. We always play Marry, Fuck, Kill on this
Okay,
show.
love it.
But, but instead of making it like real people,
Mm-hmm.
at this Slumber Party, it's the stupid version of Marry, Fuck, Kill. Meaning, Lily, I want you to marry, fuck, kill quarantine relocations. If you had to relocate to one of these three places to quarantine, which one would you marry, which one would you fuck, and which one you kill? The very special Lilli Cooper version is, would you marry, fuck, or kill Bikini Bottom,
Oh,
the Land of Oz,
ooh,
or somewhere where it's spring and summer
huh.
every other day?
I love it. Aw, they all sound fun. So here's my thought. Yikes. Okay. I would marry, I would marry Bikini Bottom because it's a great underwater land with lots of crazy creatures where everyone fits in, and Krabby Patties sound delicious and I want to know what the recipe is. I would fuck the Land of Oz because that shit's crazy, and that would be some kinky shit. Some kinky shit would go down there. And
Dr. Delaman.
I guess I would kill the Land of Spring and Summer because summer's really hot, and I mean I like spring, but like I don't want spring and summer to happen at the same time.
That's good. That's good. I love that. Wait, I completely forgot to ask you the central question of this podcast. What were your slumber parties like growing up?
Slumber parties were dope. I always had slumber parties at my house. I prided my house in being like the party house because I had two older brothers who partied their faces off, and I was like, I want to have the party house too. So I remember being in like junior high and high school and being like, you guys would come over, and I was really excited about it. So I was always the one to have the first co-ed slumber parties. Like
Oh,
whenever I had co-ed slumber parties, all of the girls would be like, oh my God, I never had a sleepover with a boy before. So I was really proud of that. And also, we would watch like the dopest movies. Spice World that's all you have to watch. Spice World, really.
it's just supposed do you remember from the Spice World trailer? This was only in the trailer and it didn't make it into the movie, but I have this vision in my head of Posh going, and she's in the bathroom and she's like, my skirt too short. And they're like, no. And then she hikes it up even
Yes! Oh my God, that is wild because I definitely remember that too. And it didn't make it into the movie?
I'm pretty sure it's not in the movie. Or I saw like a children's cut or something where it was, because I remember seeing it in the trailer thinking it was the funniest thing in the world. And then
Yeah, no, it's fucking great. And she hikes it up more, right?
yeah.
Great. I love it.
That movie is so good. That's a camp classic.
Oh my God. You know what? I kind of want to watch it now. I bet it doesn't hold up.
I'm certain it doesn't, but man, oh my God, when they're doing the car chase and they cut to a little like Hot Wheels car as the bus is going.
The aliens, like there's an alien scene. It's so wild.
It's wild.
Who wrote that?
I don't know, but it's exactly what you want from a pop group movie.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen anything like it since. Nothing
That's
has
true.
held up. Nothing has held up to Spice World.
Do you think that we'll ever get back to, speaking of film school, do you think we'll get back to the fun that we had of the early 2000s of like big, broad comedy like Austin Powers, Spice World, because that was sort of a cycle back to like Airplane, Naked Gun, sort of really wacky.
100%. You're so right. You're
We
so
don't
right.
have that anymore.
No, we really don't. I actually watched Austin Powers like a few weeks ago, and I lulled. I straight up laughed out loud because it's really funny and dumb. Like that's what we need is something funny and dumb.
Yeah.
It's we either want, I feel like America, maybe, I don't know, this is kind of like a broad statement, but either wants like this blockbuster kind of mega hit or a really cerebral artsy thing. And we kind of need that middle ground of something that's just kind of slapstick hilarious. And I guess I haven't seen anything like that in a while. I did just watch, oh God, what's it called? Eurovision on Netflix with Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams. That is Austin Powers-esque because of how absurd it is. I do recommend it, maybe not sober. But
gotcha. That's interesting you say that because I watched that trailer and had that thought. I was like, oh, because Will Ferrell was very king of the castle during that time. Those like Anchorman movies and like just stupid,
dumb,
but in a fun way. Yeah.
I love watching movies like that where it's like you laugh because of how dumb something is as opposed to how clever and intelligent it is. You're like, I just want to dumb down sometimes.
Yeah, and it's interesting to watch how comedy has changed in that way because like even SNL is like that now. Like it's a little bit more elevated. It's the sketches are a little headier and a little more intellectual. Yeah. And in the early 2000s it was just like, here's Chris Kattan eating a banana.
Yeah, or here's like Dick in a box.
Here's Dick in a box. So hopefully, yeah, maybe we'll make our way back there. And you're the youngest in your family?
Yeah, I'm the youngest. I have 2 older brothers.
Me too. And did you grow up in New York City?
Yeah, I grew up in Midtown Manhattan, like just a few blocks away from Times Square. I grew up on 43rd Street in a high rise. So I lived on the 45th floor. It was like very New York concrete jungle.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Wow. It was great. And I know that it's funny because people are always like, what was it like growing up in New York? And I don't know, because I don't know anything else. But I know that it is a very unique experience. And I kind of love that. And it wasn't until I went on tour and I went to like South Bend, Indiana, that I was like, oh, this is what the rest of America is. That's why people are like blown away that I grew up in New York.
Oh, the rest of America is mostly just a Chili's and a Walmart.
Yeah. Applebee's on a highway. Oh, okay.
I grew up in one of those towns in Ohio, and I can tell you, that's what we did in high school. We went to the Walmart and we would pick stuff up and throw it in the air. And that was it. That was like the whole fun. That was like, that's what we did.
Yeah.
This has been so much fun. Thank you so much for joining us. I could talk to you forever and ever. You're so funny and so great. Where can the people find you if you want people to follow you?
Yeah, they can follow me on the Twitters and the Instagrams. I'm Lil Coops on Instagram, LILCOOPZ. I made it in college and I kind of regret it, but it is what it is. And Twitter at Lilli Cooper.
Oh my gosh, amazing. And when Broadway opens back up, we cannot wait to see you back on the stage and hopefully all over the damn place. I can't wait to see what's next for you. You are a remarkable performer and we're all fans of you, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was such a fun conversation and great chat, and I'm really happy to be here. So thanks for having me.
Yay. All right, you guys. Thanks so much for listening and watching, and we'll see you next week with our next Elphaba. Oh, let me give you a hint for who our next Elphaba is going to be. The next person on the schedule, your hint will be, it is a parking meter. That's